looking at how we create new processes and practices. Again, just to echo what was said before, this is about looking holistically, not simply at whether it's a blog or a wiki, or whether it's a single deliberation methodology, though I very much come out of this world of people who've worked on dialogic and deliberation methods and tools, and there are many methods and tools that are out there, but is it looking at now, how do we marry up the methods and tools that exist with the problems that we're trying to solve? The goal is not to find one single solution to all problems in the participation area, just like in the services area. It's about figuring out what are the different models and how they can be brought to bear. How do we make those tools and processes and practices available to people who want to use them? And then to encourage through policy and through technology the use and the trial and error, frankly, with new types of processes. And we know one of the things that we have to get comfortable with is trying new things. And that means that some of those things might not always work, and that some of those things might work better in one context than another. So I don't think, that there is one answer or one method or one way of doing things, but instead trying to move towards practices whereby we're trying lots of different things and making them available to people to experiment in different contexts. Because whether we're trying to crowdsource gaining expertise, or whether we're trying to get people work on collaborative drafting, or whether we're trying to get people engaged in attempting to provide a sense or consensus around a particular issue, these are different techniques that are going to work in different areas. So I think one thing I'll just add to this is an important dialogue that's emerging between the technology communities that weren't traditionally engaged in the world of the kind of dialogue around civic engagement and participation in the same way, and the many active people who've worked in the area of dialogic methods, deliberation, civic engagement, policy processes, bringing these two worlds together to now talk about how we drive more effective practices and innovate in our practices for policymaking. So look forward to seeing the book.
Thank you. I would really like to thank our panel for their time, for giving us time and coming to talk with us today, and for a lively and thoughtful dialogue with all of us. Tell my audience what. Oh, yeah, I am. We are now going to take our discussion to a somewhat more specific set of recommendations. Joining me is Ari Schwartz, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the Center for Democracy and Technology, for a presentation on a report just issued by the Center for and OpenTheGovernment.org, Show Us the Data, the 10 Most Wanted Government Documents. The report was made possible through the financial support of the Sunlight Foundation and the work of the Center for Democracy and Technology and OpenTheGovernment.org. Special thanks go to Heather West and Judd Watkins of CDT and Amy Fuller of OpenTheGovernment.org. Ari, you've been involved in several reports of this nature. Can you tell us a little about them, and of course this one?
Well, the history goes back actually to 1998 when actually John McCain was the chair of the, Senator John McCain was the chair of the Commerce Committee, and he had his staff looking into making government more open. And one of the issues, a lot of the open government groups went to the chairman and asked him to change policy, and they kind of put back to us, well, what are the exact types of data and what are the exact areas that you want to see information made more, where you want to see information made more open? Can you be more specific? And from that idea, we worked with OMB Watch on coming up with this 10 Most Wanted list, where we asked the public, rather than just coming up with our own list, ask the public, please send us the types of data that you want to see. And at that point in '98, we did it through email. People just sent us emails of the, and I still have the very, very long Excel spreadsheet we used to sort through all the list that we got. We put together a top 10 list made up of all 3 branches of government and tried to come up with what we thought, culling the best ideas from that list. In 2004, well, and I should say in that, 4 of those documents have been released, including one that was extremely successful at the time. The U.S. had no Supreme Court website at the time, even though Mongolia did in 1998. One thing that what happened within 6 months was the Supreme Court got an official website, and by the Bush v. Gore decision, that became one of the most downloaded documents of all time. And so to that point, so it showed really that there was a need to get that information out there directly to the public rather than filtered through filtered sources. So we were able to move that discussion along. A lot of people thought it was very successful. We repeated it again in 2004 with Open the Government, who then existed at that point. And at that point, because of the nature of the Bush administration's views on openness, it was a lot more confrontational. I think if you look back at the results, a lot more political information was up there. And I think it raised a lot of the profile on some of the anger from the openness community in this space. And then, 5 years later, we decided that because, as Catherine said, really the feeling of excitement about a new administration that was committed to the idea of openness coming in, could we put together a new list that captured the moment, got feedback from a lot of people using even some of the new Web 2.0 technologies to do that. I think we put that out in a way, working with the Sunlight Foundation in order to get a list together. We found some of the limitations of trying to do this within such a short period of time, to try and get it within the first 100 days and get feedback in that time. And so we have in the report that we put out, we have a list of what people voted on, but we put together our own list too, because a lot of the good ideas came in the last days, so people didn't have a chance to vote for things that had just come out. So we put together what we considered some of the best ideas out there as our top 10, but you can take a look at, and the site's still available too, you can see all the information and comments that people had, which are really very interesting. We're very excited about how much input people had to the process.
Thanks, Ari. So we wanted to review with you a few of the 10 most wanted documents from this survey. And the audience can see, actually, the people here in the local audience got a handout that has the cover on one side and the 10 most wanted on the other side. You should have gotten it at the front desk anyway. The remote audiences can see the information on the website. And the full report is posted on both of our websites, I'm sure. We only have time to discuss the first few, as we want to leave a couple minutes for questions, and we may even cut out some of these. Ari, why don't you say a few words about the first one?
Sure. Well, 10 years ago, the #1 document on the list, both that we thought was #1 and that the public voted on, was Congressional Research Service reports. And again, this year, #1 votes, and the one that we have felt is the kind of the most egregious case for information is CRS reports. It's the only document to make all 3 top 10 lists that we've done. The Congressional Research Service uses taxpayer dollars to produce reports on public policy issues, and these reports are made accessible to Congress through a website that is internal to the Congress, but are never released directly to the public and directly from CRS. Members of the public can ask for them through the reports through their members of Congress, but they need to know that they exist before they can get them. Third-party websites such as OpenCRS, which is run by Center for Democracy and Technology and made possible through the work of a lot of other groups, collect and share reports for free. But the only way to get, but for years the only way to get the reports, and it was from for-profit companies, which were somehow able to get through the barriers that Congress had put up to get access to these reports for a cost for $20 a piece in some cases. So the public obviously still feels very strongly that these reports should be made directly available from the Congress.
Second most wanted was information about the use of TARP, Troubled Asset Relief Program, and bailout funds. The TARP authorized the use of taxpayer money to purchase assets from financial institutions that were struggling, and is often referred to as the bailout. After $300 billion in bailout money has been distributed, the actual use of the money by individual companies is still largely unknown, and as you know, TARP and the bailout have morphed and grown. For those of you who want to follow what we do know about the bailout, please come to bailoutwatch.net, a site run by openthegovernment.org.
The #3, I don't know how much time we want to spend on these, but there were a lot of votes for judiciary documents, and #1 on that list, the only one that has never been on a previous list, that the highest receiver of votes that have never been on a previous list, was the PACER system, the Public Access to Court Electronic Record System. And the PACER system provides federal court records, including opinions in cases, and the public have access to the legal precedents only after you